Kobane has the potential to really change the course of history. This is a very critical battle. The resistance in Kobane against the Syrian regime, against the Islamic State, is very significant because it provides the people with a perspective in the midst of this horrible civil war that has cost too many lives. Ever since the beginning of the Syrian civil war, the uprisings in Syria, the Kurdish people have tried to go a third way, not siding with the regime and also not siding with the opposition. So what then happened is that they tried to have an alternative system to create democratic autonomy within the existing borders, but working in spite of these dominant structures. The Kurds there have tried to work with the peoples in the region, with Arabs, with Assyrians, with Armenians. They have declared 3 autonomous cantons, of which Kobane is one. And this alternative system that is trying to be established in Rojava is especially dangerous because it challenges the dominant statehood structures there. The Islamic State's attacks on Kobane are especially significant considering Turkey's interest in that region. From the very beginning they said, we do not tolerate a terrorist entity at our border, and they were not talking about the Islamic State or al-Nusra, they were talking about the Kurdish people with their democratic autonomous structures there. So they just want to destroy the autonomous achievements of the Kurds in the region. Real self-determination of people is a big threat to the status quo. Kurdish women's movement is in many ways the complete opposite of the so-called Islamic State, because the Islamic State not only wants to establish its hegemony through killing, murdering those who are against their ideology, against their interpretation of political religion, against different ethnicities, the colors and languages, civilizations in the region, but they have also explicitly launched a war on women. The Kurdish women's movement, it is not dangerous to the Islamic State because of its military power, but because of its ideological, transformative power that could just really challenge the societal system. When women take up arms against the Islamic State, they do so because they have a big future, a very bright future to look forward to. And parallel to this existential fight against the Islamic State, they also have all these social and political emancipatory projects. They have their councils, academies, cooperatives, etc. So the idea is to change society, to transform society, to include in your understanding of democracy the inclusion of 50% of the population. So in that sense, the Kurdish women's movement is a big threat to the hegemony of the Islamic State. People portray Kurdish women as these sympathetic, pretty rebels, these Amazons, mystify them, exoticize them as the opposite of the Islamic State, but they do so without acknowledging what these women are standing for, what are their ideologies, what are their politics, what movement lies behind their mobilization, because this sort of organization, this sort of movement did not just come out of nowhere. This has a big, stable ground, which is also, even though nobody wants to admit it, or nobody wants to accept it, is the ideology of the PKK, which is also, just like the Islamic State, labeled as terrorist. It is very dangerous to instrumentalize women to mobilize against the Islamic State and only instrumentalizing them without support.